Hey guys, follow along in this tutorial and learn how to create an animated digital ad using Adobe Animate. While this program is often used to create character animations, it's also a super useful tool to design animated ads as well. In this lesson, I'll go over how to create a half-page ad with several ease in and out animations, as well as exporting the final project as a GIF or video file. So let's jump right into this lesson and start creating. All right, let's get started. The first thing we want to do is create a new document. So let's click on Create New. That'll bring up your new document window. From the menu up top, it will probably be set to character animation as default. Let's choose Ads. And you can see in the presets, there's multiple sizes to choose from. The one we'll be working on for this lesson is half-page ad. That's 300 by 600 pixels. Now the frame rate, we want to leave that at 30, and the platform type, we want to set that to HTML5 canvas. Once you have these settings in place, go ahead and click Create. Now before we go any further, I do want to show you the end result for this tutorial. I'm going to click on this tab here, which takes me to a different canvas, and you can see in my timeline here, I've set up all the animation with the keyframes in this digital animated ad. So I'm just going to press play in my timeline here, and you can see all the animation I set is playing through. So this is what we'll be creating in this lesson. I'm going to go back to my blank canvas here, and I will be working in the CC library. So I'm just going to Window, CC Libraries. Of course, the assets will be included in the download folder, and you can find that in the description below. Here I have a couple colors, a logo, and the two mobile phones we'll be using. So we'll start by adding a canvas background to this. So it's called the stage background or background color. So I'm going to click that, and what I want to do is create this blue color that I have here. I've already set that, so that's good. And what I'll do is create a new layer here, and we'll start adding some of the assets. For this first part, we'll just add a circle shape and give it this blue color. So in my tool panel here, I'll just click and hold to get the oval tool. And then while holding shift, I'm just gonna go ahead and drag out a circle and give it this fill color right there, and make sure I'm clicked on it. So click on the selection tool, click on that, and then give it that lighter blue color. Now for the alignment tools, you can find that in the right panel here. You can see align, and I want to align this to the stage. So I'm going to click that box there, and I'm going to align it the horizontal centers. By the way, if you want to see the work without if you want to see it masked, in other words, just click off here, and then in the top right hand corner you can clip the content outside the stage. So I'm going to do that, and you can see this is much easier to work and to get a better visual of how the ad will look as you're working. So of course, renaming your layers is important, so I'm just going to call this shape. Perfect. Now what I'll do is I'm going to bring in, let's do the logo next. So I'm going to bring in that. Now you'll get a prompt here asking how do you want this to be brought in. What I typically do is just bring it in as a single bitmap image. So I'll click that and click import, and I'll bring it around here. Now to resize it, you're going to need the transform tool. So either click it in the toolbar or just press Q on your keyboard. And then while holding shift, just go ahead and drag that down, and then bring it, this will be at the top. That's a good size for now. And again, let's align this to the stage. It already is. So this will be static. We're not going to be animating the logo. That will appear on page load, I guess, if you want to say. So will the shape and obviously the background. I also want to, actually, we have to create a new layer for the logo. So let's do that. And we'll call that logo. I'm going to just cut it, click on the logo layer, and then I'm just going to paste in place. Okay. So far we have the background layer, the shape, and the logo. I'm going to create another layer here and rename this to pattern. And I'm just going to drag that layer underneath the shape. And I'm going to drag this pattern onto my canvas. And again, I'm just going to import it as a single bitmap image and click import. I'm going to zoom out a bit and choose my free transform tool. And let's zoom out, hold your shift key and drag that in. I also want to rotate it so that the lines are going vertically and not horizontally. Let me zoom in a bit more here and drag that in. I'm going to go to my alignment tool here and align that to the stage vertically and horizontally. And I also want to modify this so it's into a symbol, and the type is movie clip, and that's fine. Let's just name this pattern and click OK. Now what that allows me to do now is blend it into the background. So in the color effects, let's go ahead and choose alpha, and let's make that about 20. And then you can make the blend something like multiply. So something like that will work. You could see I can zoom in. You could see the pattern there, which is nice. Next, we'll bring in the mobile devices. So I'm going to click on this one. Oh, let's create a new layer first. So I'm going to click on logo and then choose new layer. And let's call this phone_1. And while we're at it, let's create another layer. And this one will be called phone_2. Going back to phone_1, I'm just going to drag this phone onto the page again. Single bitmap is fine. By the way, as I'm dragging this onto my canvas from my CC libraries, you can do the same from your desktop. You can also go to File and Import, and then you would import to Stage. Okay, so those are a couple ways of bringing in the content. Again, I'm in my free transform tool, hold shift, constrain, and then just bring that down. I'm just going to put this off to the side for now, and let's bring it down a little bit more. That's good there. I'm going to click on phone 2, and this is the second phone. Drag that on. Also, single bitmap image and drop it in. Hold your shift key. I'm still in my free transform and just bring that down. And let's just make sure that these are both the same size. Oops. Again, just dragging from. If I scroll in here, you can change the direction of how you're transforming it. So I'm just going to bring this down here and then bring this outwards. Okay, let's bring that up. Put that there. So something like that is fine. I think they're both the same size now. That is good. All right, let's go ahead and add the text now. So I'll add my main title first. This will be 2 individual text objects, only because I want to animate them individually. So I'm going to go click on phone 2 and then create a new layer. And this will be called online_banking. That will be the top text piece. And then the next one will be made simple. Okay, so this is a good way of keeping track of what's what in the timeline. Okay, that's important when you're adding your keyframes, when you're animating the digital ad or anything you're working on. Let's click on online banking, choose the text tool, click, and this will be online banking, and the text color will be white. So let me click that and align it center to the stage, and I want to make the fill color just white is fine. Now the text that I'm using, or the font I'm using for this, is Filson Pro Bold. I'll leave a link in the description where you can download this from Adobe Fonts. Okay, so what I'll do is just move that up a bit, and what I'll do is copy and just click on Made Simple and paste another version of that. And let's make sure that these are both centered together. And this will say Made Simple. So this is for a fictional banking financial institution that wants to promote their mobile application. Let's go ahead and align those and bring them in up a bit. I think that's a good size. 30 point is good. Maybe make them a little bit bigger if you want, maybe 32. And then just kind of eyeball the spacing for them. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm happy with that size as well. And again, just make sure that everything is on its single layer. You can see if I click on them, it highlights in the text frame. Okay, so that's good. The next piece of text will be download the app. So let's create yet another layer, and we'll just call it download. Okay, and this will say, I just grab my text tool again, or type tool, click, and just download the app. Perfect. Now I'm going to create this, and I'm going to make it, instead of bold, we'll make it medium, and we'll make it much smaller as well. So let's just make that about 24 is fine. And maybe I'll make it that light blue color as well. Again, let's center that to the stage and maybe give a little bit of space separation from our title. That's a little too big still, so let's make it 22. I think I'm happy with that. Perfect. And the last element is the button. So a lot of these ads that you see online when you're browsing a website is they have a button as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, create a new layer. This might be the last one. We'll just call it button. Perfect. I'm going to go back to my shape tool here, and let's choose rectangle tool. Let's zoom in a bit and just create a button, or a rectangle, I should say, about that size. Grab the text tool again, and this will just say learn more. Okay, let's decrease the size of that, and that will be, I think we'll want to make that white as well. And then we'll increase the size again. Click the free transform, and you can just increase the size. Hold your shift key and then use your up and left arrow key to center it to that rectangle, and then go ahead and just group the two. So hold, click the text frame, hold your shift key, click the shape, and just do Command G, and you can see now that they're one element. Okay, let's align that also to the stage in the center, and this is the time where you can start maneuvering things to make sure that you're happy with the spacing. Now the phones, they're not going to be like this. I want them to be peeking out. So let's go ahead and set them up the way we want. I'm going to move this phone to overlap. Hold my shift key and grab the other one. Let's move it to the center, and let's shift them down. Something like that works as well. So we want them to kind of peek out of the stage and stop right the way I have them, okay? And so we can move the button down a bit, and we can also move the download the app text down a bit as well. And while we're at it, let's move this down as well, okay? So I think I'm happy with how that's laid out. Next, we can go ahead now and add animation using keyframes and the ease in and out feature in the animation tools. All right, so I want the total animation for this ad to be about 4 seconds for this tutorial. So I'm gonna go to, in my time frame here, I'm gonna go to the 4-second mark here and click on the first frame, and while hold my shift key, click on the last one, okay? And then just hit F5 on your keyboard to add blank keyframes throughout the whole sequence. You can also do that by clicking this icon here and holding it, and then choosing blank keyframe. That will create a timeline of 4 seconds as you're working, okay? Now let's move the playhead all the way to the beginning. That's where we're gonna start adding the animation. We'll start with the phones and then work our way up. So let's click on phone 1, and you can see I already have a keyframe as a starting point. I'm going to move my playhead to the 15-second mark here. I'm sorry, the 15 frame mark. The whole sequence is 4 seconds. So I'm at the 15 frame mark, and you can either press F6 or just insert a keyframe. Okay, let's move the playhead back to the beginning. Click that first keyframe in phone 1, and then with your either selection tool or free transform, doesn't matter which one, go ahead and drag this, hold your shift key and drag it out of the frame completely. Okay, so you can see if I go from here to here, I've created, I haven't set up the animation yet, but you can see the starting point, it's not there, and then the second frame, it's there. Go anywhere in between those 2 points, those 2 keyframes, right click, and then just choose Create Classic Tween. And what that does is it creates this nice smooth transition for that first phone to come in. Okay, so let's do the same thing for the second phone. Click on the first keyframe. Actually, let's go to the 15 frame mark again and make sure you're on phone 2 now. And go ahead and press F6 or click this icon here. I usually press F6, it's just a little bit easier. Okay, so you can see I'm gonna go back to the beginning, click that first keyframe, and same thing. Let's drag this one down as well. That's good there. And you can see, much like the first one, the second one appears on that second keyframe as well. Again, click anywhere between those 2 keyframes, right click and create classic tween. So now you have this cool transition of both phones, but I want them to kind of come in one after another. So I'm going to click on this first keyframe on phone 2, hold my shift key and click that second one, and then just drag that sequence so that the first keyframe in phone 2 starts at the 15 frame mark. So you get something like this, 1, 2, okay? So that's setting up the mobile devices. Now we can start adding the animation to the text objects. I'm going to click on online banking. I'm going to move my playhead to about the 35 frame mark, and let's click online banking and create or set a new keyframe. So insert a new keyframe there and move the playhead to the 50 frame mark and create another keyframe there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first keyframe, and I also want to modify and convert to symbol here so I can reduce the alpha or the opacity on this. Okay, so if you don't do that, then you won't be able to decrease the opacity, the transparency. So I'm going to click convert to symbol, and movie clip is fine, and I'll just name this online banking text. Okay, and just hit OK. And you can see once I've done that, now I can go into the color effects and choose alpha, and let's turn this down right to 0. And you can see I'm going to go to that first one, and it's still at 100%. Okay, so again, let's click here and create classic tween, and you can see that you get a cool transition. It just fades in. Now I don't need this first keyframe anymore, so I'm just going to click that and just delete, and now that text will start there. Okay, so just keep in mind that that first part, I just deleted it. The other thing I want to do is, with this first keyframe selected in the online banking, I'm going to click on my free transform and hold my shift key and drag that out to about here, just so I have this cool kind of text that comes in as well. All right, so you get that nice coming into the sequence, into the ad at the beginning. Let's do the same thing for Made Simple, but it will come after online banking. So let's have that. Let's click Made Simple, And maybe we'll start this one at the 55 frame mark. Or you know what? Let's start it here again, and then we'll shift it over like we did with the mobile device. So let's create a new keyframe there. Go to this keyframe. That would be the 50 frame mark. Insert another keyframe, F6. Let's click on the first one. Okay. And again, let's go to modify, convert to symbol. This will be part of the movie clip that we're essentially creating here. And this will be called Made Simple Text, okay? Click OK. In your color effects, which you can find in the Object tab, click and choose Alpha. And you can see it remembers your last setting, so it's already at 0, okay? Now let's go ahead and click anywhere in between, right click and choose Create Classic Tween. And you can see now that one fades in as well. Before we go any further, I want to shift this over. So I'm going to click that first keyframe in Made Simple, hold my Shift key and click the second keyframe. And then I'm just clicking anywhere in there and dragging it. So the first keyframe in that sequence now aligns with the last keyframe in online banking. So essentially it's going to start right after that one comes, or right after that one's finished playing. So there's that, and then here comes Made Simple. Again, I don't need this first part, so I'm clicking the very first keyframe in the sequence, the last frame, and just delete that, okay? Now, with this, I also want to increase that size as well. So I've clicked my free transform, hold your Shift key, and drag that out so it's out of the page, out of the canvas, okay? So let's see how that looks now. There's online banking, and there's Made Simple. So let's play that at full speed. And so to play it, just move your playhead right to the beginning and press return. And you can see there's the first part of our animation. Both phones, and there's the title. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and animate, both download the app and learn more. All right, so with the Learn More button, let's click that layer there, and let's move the playhead to about the 70 frame mark. And again, insert a new keyframe. There it is there. And then this one will play out at 10 seconds instead of it'll play at 10 frames instead of the 15 that these are playing out at. So I'm gonna move my playhead to about the 80 frame mark and create another keyframe there. And let's go to the first keyframe in that sequence. And much like I did with the mobile phones, I'm just going to click and drag this out of the page to the right, okay? And again, if I go to the second keyframe in that sequence, you can see it reappears. Again, anywhere between those two keyframes, right click, create classic tween. And you can see now it comes in nicely. The other thing I want to do is add, I'm just going to go to Object here, go to Color Effects, and change that to Alpha and 0. So as it's transitioning onto the ad, it's also coming in with a slight fade in as well, which adds a nice touch to it, okay? So not only did we set that to come out of the page from the right, it's got that nice fade, okay? And so with the button, I'm gonna go to the button layer here. And for this, let's go to 85. And again, let's create a new keyframe right there at the 85 frame mark and move this to 95 and insert yet another keyframe. And this is simply going to have just a fade in at the very, very end. Again, we have to convert this to a symbol. So go to Modify, Convert to Symbol, and this will be called Button. And again, movie clip is fine, and click OK. You can see that opens up the ability now to add a transparency. You can blend. So again, we want alpha set to 0 and with a nice fade in at the end. But again, classic tween. So click anywhere in between, right click, create classic tween. Let's delete this first portion of this sequence. We don't need those frames, and let's click these and delete that as well. So now we have this sequence. Let's start at the beginning. There's the first phone, the second phone. There's online banking, made simple. There's download the app and learn more. The other thing I wanted to show you, if I go to online banking, for instance, and I click that first keyframe, I have the ability to add an ease in. Right now it says classic ease. Do you see under the tweening, the properties is together, but the effect, let's click that and choose ease in out. And then there's some settings here with the I guess the strength of the ease out. I liked this one, double click to apply the cubic. So I'm going to click that, and you could see it comes in at a nicer pace, right? Let me play and you can compare the two. So compare online banking to made simple. It comes in a lot nicer. So let's do the same to made simple. Click the first keyframe and then choose classic ease, and we want an ease in out and double click cubic. So it almost comes in with a nice snapping motion and kind of like a stick. It sticks to it. It just looks a lot better than just the classic ease. It comes in with a little bit more force, if you want to say that. It looks a lot nicer. So I'm going to play that again, and you can see it all plays out nicely. Now I'm going to show you how to either export it as a GIF file or a video file. One other thing I should note before I show you how to export this is if you ever want to preview the work as you're adding the animation, simply hold Command or Control on Windows and enter, and that'll open up the project in a web browser, and you can see how it would look if it was live on a website, which is kind of neat. Okay, and the other way of doing that is just press this play button in the upper right hand corner of the workspace. Okay, so I'm going to go back to timeline, and so the first way I'll show you how to export this is going to File, Export, and Export Animated GIF. So those of you who've been following my InDesign tutorials, this is a great way of building your own animated GIF in Animate and then bringing it into an InDesign interactive layout. Okay, so here it is. Here you can play it to preview. You can see the GIF is working as intended. You would just hit save and open it up, or save it, I should say, on your computer. Okay, so that's the first way of exporting. The second way is going to File, Export, and then Export Video Media. Okay, same thing. You can export the entire movie, okay, or by scene, but you could see you can go ahead and the render size is the size of the document, which is fine. And then this H.264, what that means is it's going to export as a MP4. Okay, so once you've done that, you'll hit export. Now what'll happen is it'll open in Media Encoder. As a last step, you're going to have to render it in encoder, but you'll see that it'll render through. I'll take you through those steps. I'll hit export here, and my Media Encoder is loading up. So you can see that it rendered in encoder, and it's ready to preview on my desktop there. And from there, it'll be on your desktop, and you can open the MP4 and share it that way as well. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to create animated digital ads using Adobe Animate. If you found it helpful, leave a like or comment, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay up to date with all my latest content. If you'd like to learn how to create a script text animation using Adobe Animate, check out this video right up here. Until next time, take care and keep creating.